right?
Right.
I'm onto my 7th email now.
Yeah, the problem is you go to the old one and you don't see the new one.
All right.
Or people go to their text messages and text Mark.
All right, I'm going to start talking anyhow. We'll see what else. I'll start talking, and we'll go to the slides in a minute. So first of all, unbelievable, just unbelievable. When yesterday started, I thought there was no chance of us getting our goals. We were 9 contracts short, and then, believe it or not, up till 9:45 last night, it took. But we actually did 9 contracts yesterday. I went back 6 years. I can't find a November, for those who keep thinking it was a slowing down or not. I can't even find a November close to that. November in this office, like most offices slow down. We do 30 contracts, 31, 52 contracts, like a 40% increase. Unbelievable. Listings we hit some days earlier, so it's still busy. And on that note, I did forward Bev sent me an email from the board about how to think, during the holiday, if you want to take things off the market, temp this, temp that. I sent it because it's useful information, but I would advise you that I don't believe anybody should be taking anything off the market, okay? We just had a busier November than June. It looks like it's gonna stay that busy in December. So I don't know if I would encourage anybody to take their house off the market, but there was useful instructions if you're taking something off for a week or something like that. So thank you, Bev, for sending that. I forwarded that on to everybody. You should see it in your email that I sent that. A couple things before I get to the slides real quick. I finally got the paddles that jumpstart the lock boxes. I lost my original one. I got a new one. So if you have to borrow the paddles, I have those again. Although try not to get your lockbox to the battery dead on it. I waited a little slow on this, but finally by the front reception desk I got one of those glass dividers from the reception area to the person standing there. So it should be safer. And again, just a shout out to, there's certain people, first of all, you have to feel comfortable doing it or not. But again, during this whole COVID period, Leslie and Baya and Gina, and I'm sure I'm forgetting that consistently here doing the opportunity time to cover it. I really, really appreciate that. So we put that divider up, I think, yesterday. So if that makes everybody feel safer and they want to do opportunity time. You remember the last phone call, I talked about Leslie just ratified a deal, I think for 6 something off of floor duty a couple of weeks prior. So all still busy. So Thursday, I'm going to start every Thursday morning training and coaching. It'll go around all year round. We'll start with a topic. It'll go an hour max. We'll get as far as we can and continue the next week where we left off. We'll go through obviously the basic things first. So this week we'll do contracts. It'll start with the buyer right to represent buyer agreement, okay? And we'll get as far as we can on that and go into the contract. So I would encourage anybody who wants to be on it. Obviously, new agents or newer agents should be on it. As we go through this, there'll be things that some people that have been doing this for a while will say, oh, that's a useful topic, oil tanks, septic, if you never did it, so you'll decide which ones you want to jump on and which ones you don't. I'm doing them either way, whether it's 2 people, 10 people, 20 people. I think 9:30, 9, people get a little leery of 9 early, but if we make it 10, for a lot of you, your day will be too late started. So I'm thinking 9:30 this Thursday. We're going to try to do it, experiment, if I get that worked out, doing it Zoom and doing it live. Again, I don't want to, if any of you feel like coming though, I know some of you come to the office every day. Let me know, because if there are going to be some people, I still won't allow more than 6, 7, or 8, so we can stay 6 feet apart from each other on the other side. So I know of one person for sure that's coming. I'm not sure who else, but if you plan on coming live for it, just let me know. So I'm not anticipating that room being filled with live people, but I don't want to end up with a dozen and then feel like we cramped people in there. So that's going to start this Thursday, and like I said, it'll be the regional sales contract. But before I jump into that, I'll do the exclusive right to represent buyer, which if you're writing a contract, clearly you should have one of those in place. And by Zoom, it's a little different as we were here in person, but I'll either email you ahead of time. You should all be able to pull it up in zip forms, but I will email you tomorrow the contract and the the exclusive right to represent agreement. So you have it in front of you. People who are here obviously will have it as a handout. I'll zoom it on the screen anyhow, probably. No, not probably, definitely, so you can see it from there. And remember, this is like, engagement. Don't be bashful when you're on it. If you don't know it, you don't know it. That's why you're on the call. So ask questions, or if you don't understand something, you gotta let me know. So we'll start that Thursday at 9:30. We'll send out a new link for that. We'll figure it all out and get those links back out there and try to figure out what's going. A lot of it is Zoom. They change these things on us. They changed the one I'm on with the corporation, the manager one. They eliminated using the word Weichert. We went to numbers. We might go back to the one where it's no password. The problem with that was we had to remember to let you in then. And if it started, like if somebody was trying to get on now, Jacinta and I are looking at that, and so somebody didn't get in. But we'll figure it out and get back to that. So as promised, somewhere along the way here, I put in a basket this morning a name of every single person who had either who either had a listing or a contract this month, one or the other. You didn't have to have both. You didn't have to have, if you had a listing or a contract, I put your name in a hat, and somewhere along here we're going to draw two $100 American Express cards. I decided to break it up so more get out there, and three $50 American Express gift cards. So at least 5 people get something out of that, just because how great you all are and what an unbelievable month it turned out to be. So I appreciate that. We'll do that drawing. Okay, so Jacinta, are you going to the slides? Hey, Ryan, do you want me to go through the initial stuff I do, or you want to jump in first?
You can go for it. I just need to be off by 11 for another meeting, so I'm good.
Yeah, some of these slides, make that a slideshow. All right, go back to the picture. That was a nice picture. Nice. Hope everybody had a great Thanksgiving. I know a lot of us had a lot less people. For me, that worked out well because the house is filled with my wife's family usually, so fewer was better. It was nice to relax for a few days. And again, for most of the weekend, I know there's a lot of activity because of the calls I got. Questions, what to do, what's going on. So there seems to be a lot still going out there, and I would encourage you to keep your foot to the gas pedal because we never know when these things are going to change. So next slide. Open houses, as expected, slowed down some this last weekend, but appreciate everybody who did them. Next slide. We'll send out the absorption. Oh no. So last week ended up, it was total sales is nice. It was a little bit off, and that's why we were 9 behind by the time we got to yesterday to finish the month. And with 9, we did more yet. We did as much yesterday as we did all last week. And by the way, if it interests you, we did 52 contracts for just under $29 million. So that's probably an average of 540 or 550, somewhere in that area. So all around good news. Next slide. We'll send out the oh, what happened? No, I don't know where Carol is. No anniversaries, no birthdays, Carol? Oh, no anniversaries, nobody's anniversary or birthday in December? All right, we'll send out the absorption rates. Next slide. Next slide. I think we put this out on the company page, but when was it? I already forgot what day it was. Last week. Yeah, listen, again, crazy times, tougher times. If everybody remembers last year, a lot of our agents did something inside and we had like, I think 200, 250 people there last year. But to the credit of people, it's not just these, other people have done their own things. I know Elizabeth did, a lot of people did things. These happened to be something I went to last weekend. This one's Lisa's. Lisa did hers at her house. She had things set up on the side yard, on the backyard. The donut truck was in the front, in her driveway. When I was there had to be at least 20, 30 people floating around, separated pretty well because she had it spread out. So great job with that. Down the block from Lisa's house, she had a listing that
that was her house that I showed the other day that I ran out of here.
Yes, and the day I was there on that Sunday, Jen Collins and one of our newer agents was doing an open house down the block that we had at least a dozen or 13, 14 people come through. So it was a great day there. Next slide. I think this is Sandy's. This is Sandy's and Jen. That's Jen's back to us there. Same thing. Really smart. They timed it well. They gave slots. So did Lisa actually of what time people should come. So there was never, too many people at once. Turned out to be a little cloudy, but turned out to be in the upper 50s. So it was a great day. Instead of their live Santa Claus that they usually had, they had a cardboard Santa Claus who was wearing his mask as well. I apologize for me I didn't know what to do with my hands, it looks like. I'm used to either standing next to somebody with my arm around somebody. All of a sudden we're staying apart. I felt like, all right, I'll just put them on my hips. I don't know. Every picture I see myself, I have like my hands on my hip all of a sudden. I'm not sure what to do with my hands. It was a great day. I was there. And when these people come, you can see people are like starving for interaction and talking. Both this event and Lisa's event, people were just lingering. They didn't just come and grab their pie. I mean, there were people 20 minutes, 30 minutes talking. We don't have any of the pictures with the kids, but plenty of pictures with the Santa Claus with the kids and everything. So just really good that even in these times, you stay out front and stay engaged with your clients. Great job. Next slide. Oh, I just thought this was interesting. And it goes to say for, I don't know, a lot of things, the amount of effort being put in, the market we're currently in. If you would think to yourself, and nobody has to answer, what percentage of agents in this office in 2020, and the year's not over, I try to account for what I knew was still settling. I also took out of the equation the agents who, I don't even know who the hell they are. I'm still trying to track down 10 or 12 people. I don't even know who they are. I never met them. So I took them out of the equation to not skew the numbers in any way. But other than that, I left in everything else, which I think turned out to be 69 or 70 agents in the equation. So if you had to guess, what percentage of agents either did better or worse in 20 versus 19, you could just think to yourself before I pull the slide. I wasn't surprised of which way it went. I was surprised how large that number was. All right, next slide. 66% of the agents in this office increased their income in 20 over 19. And some significantly. I'm talking about by tens of thousands, not hundreds. And 34% decreased. So that's a gigantic number. And some of the decreases are specific people I know, COVID, staying not out, not going about out, underlying issues. But overall, to me, that's an amazing number, considering the challenges we all had this year, business challenges, personal challenges, clearly the COVID, all those things that, I just look at that number and it just, to me, is just incredible and just so appreciative of all you guys do to make that happen. So congratulations to all of you on that. And I didn't count, if you were here 6 months or 5, I didn't count, there's nothing to verse it again. So I didn't count that in all fairness. So it's just the people that were here last year as well. All right, next slide. I don't want to waste too much time. I saw this article. I'll just sum it up for you as I summed up many things in recent times. You got to constantly be aware of what you're saying. And the biggest takeaway is you got to be saying the right thing, but you got to be consistent. You cannot change what you're saying based on who you're with or your perception of who you're with, okay? That is the biggest problem with fair housing, okay? We've often talked about rentals. If you're going to charge somebody a retainer fee of $100 because you don't want them around for no reason, that's fine. You can't change that based on, well, this guy looks like he could, oh, this guy's a doctor, this guy's a janitor. That's where fair housing comes in. So this article was about what you should be saying, but really it was about, you got to be consistent in what you're saying, okay? You can't look at your client and say, all right, this person, I'll give this advice. Well, you all know what I mean. So it was a good article to read, but consistency is the key. You're not going to take around people who are on, what's the subsidized housing? Section 8. You can do that. You got to consistently, you can't choose and pick of the people you're going to take around and not take it around. All right, next slide. I'll go through these faster because we have the drawing still. I have Ryan. These slides are pretty self-explanatory. You can imagine as we blow through these, most of them just are indicators that are just crazy numbers, okay? This is the National Association. Lawrence Young, the chief economist. All right, next slide. And again, the index 130 off the charts, it breaks it down by parts of the country, all just without explaining the whole index. 100 is considered the norm. So you can see 130, 119, 120, 150. Next slide. That was pending home sales. These slides will talk about the month over month. So even last month, September of 20, August of 20 to September 20, plus 9.4%. Year over year, plus 20.9%. And the volume, again, this is national. We did regional numbers about 2 weeks ago. And pending year over year, up 20.5. Just again, no indication that it's slowed down. Next slide. I stopped here for a second. This was fascinating to me. So single family homes up 21%, condos up 13%. Look at that vacation home number. That is unbelievable. But if you stop and think about it, here's the opportunity. Here's what people who, if you're thinking, you could right now, and Fred, you could jump in if I'm throwing out a wrong number. You could right now get $1 million mortgage for about 300, about what? What about Fred? About 4,000 a month?
Yeah, about 4,000 a month without taxes.
Okay, think about that. People can go to the beach, wherever it is, buy a beach house for $1 million or $1.2 million, put down whatever they're putting down. And based on the mortgage rates, they now can rent this beach house in season, whatever it is, May through September, and make more money than what their mortgage will be for the year. Think about that investment opportunity. So clearly this number reflects what people are doing. I mean, who else? I mean, during a pandemic, who would be buying vacation homes? People who are thinking, whoa, 2.5, 2.7, whatever it is just crazy money. So you can put yourself in a position to do that. And a lot of people clearly, based on this number, are taking that opportunity. So that's a crazy number. Next slide. Again, year over year improvement, 22, 22, 19, 18, just all in the right direction. Next slide. So we keep talking, right? We keep saying, if you have clients who are saying, well, I'm not going to bid it up, I'm not going to overpay for it, they will, what do we keep saying? Either they pay now or they'll pay more later. We see nothing to show us that will change. Just in the last month, it's up 0.5%. And in the last year, it's up 14.8%, okay? They're going to pay what they're paying now, or they're going to pay more later. There's no indicator at this point that there's anything different than that. So the people who told you 10 months ago, no, I'm not going to get caught up in this, they will now have to pay 14% more if they want to buy the same house, roughly. So interesting, you might take some of these slides on a buyer presentation, useful slides. Okay, next slide. I think I did this a couple of weeks ago, but Weikert's World, it's up 18% in 1 year and up 20% over the 5 year. So again, the numbers just, this is the average sales price we're talking about for Weikert. Next slide. This is about inventory. Again, interesting. You can see the inventory's down in certain things year over year, and the month over month, 1.3, down 19% year over year. But again, as tough as listings are getting, this office, as of last night, we're up 23% in our listings year over year. So that's unbelievable. So as fast we're selling, we're also listing them. When I first got back, we were struggling with 19 listings, active listings, 18 active listings. I think I didn't look today, but I think there was like 41 active listings on the board. All right, next slide. All right, there we go. Got to the main event. Thanks for being patient, Ryan. So we're excited that Ryan's here. You got it, Ryan?
You got it. Yeah, I'm ready. How's everybody doing today? Good. Good. Sorry, I'm still staring at Mark's face, which I guess is okay with me, but it'd be just our one-on-one call. So thank you guys so much. I appreciate you having me. If everybody can see me okay, if not, Mark's probably better to look at anyway, particularly with this shaggy beard that I've got working. So as long as you can hear me. you know, obviously our course material today is topical. All of Mark's comments about the nature of the market. And we're just seeing, you know, tons of multiple offer, low supply, low inventory, high demand, low rates. And with that come escalation clauses. And so this is something that we have timed with the market, you know, throughout the past 20 years. So we've talked about it a couple of times, but certainly probably not since 08 is it, you know, as relevant as it is now. So, you know, certainly want to discuss it, want to talk about filling out the escalation addendum, calculating the escalated sales price, and then ultimately discussing a few of the pitfalls. I'm not a big fan of escalators, but, you know, they are a necessary evil of the market that we're in right now. And so just kind of want to make sure you all are trending in the right direction. Jacinta, if you can kind of queue up that handout, wonderful. You know, I've given you a recommendation at first to always use the NVAR escalation addendum. There are a handful of these trickling about, and much like different versions of leases or post occupancies or one-off sales contracts, we want to stick with the NVAR forms. These things are tough enough to calculate and find any commonality and consistency, even when we're all using the same form. So I would encourage you to use the NVAR form K1306. Unfortunately, this one hasn't changed in 5 years. So unlike the sales contract, I think, you know, we'll probably be sticking with this similar version for quite some time. When you're completing the escalation addendum, there's only a couple of blanks. The first one is your escalator. How much above any other offer are you willing to go? I generally recommend a low amount, $500 or $1,000, somewhere in there. To the extent that your buyer is really motivated and obviously wants to win this offer, you're going to stand a better chance of getting in there with a lower escalator. So avoid the you know, $5,000 and $10,000 increments unless you're really, really high price brackets. The second blank is what's your maximum sales price, right? How high is your buyer willing to go? An important term right there in the middle is net. And I want to make sure everybody is tracking on this because this is one of the most common misconceptions when we talk about escalators. When you are comparing multiple offers, the only two indices that you are comparing are sales price less seller subsidy. I'm offering you $500,000. I want 10 back. That is a net of $490. All other things are out the window. Contingency free versus a fully contingent contract. Contract contingent on sale of home, cash versus financing, settlement date. Obviously, all of these are going to potentially weigh into the seller's net, but they're not calculated for purposes of calculating the escalation addendum. All we are looking at is sales price less seller subsidy. That is the apples to apples comparison that exists when you're comparing multiple offers under the escalation clause. So be sure that's all you're considering. Now, there's nothing that precludes your seller from taking an offer that doesn't have the highest escalation. So if you've got 10 offers and one that's halfway up on the chain is all cash, contingency free, and wants to close in 5 days, you can still take that. If your seller wants to, they're not obligated to take the highest one. But when you're calculating net and you're using that for purposes of calculating escalations, it's only sales price less concessions. Equally importantly, the buyer then has the opportunity when filling out the escalation addendum to choose whether they're waiving the appraisal contingency, right? Retaining the appraisal language or waiving it. If they are obtaining FHA or VA financing, they are not permitted to waive the appraisal provisions. Those are statutorily required. Those are mandated provisions in the sales contract. So again, almost equally as important as which offer has the highest net. If you think you're going to get into appraisal concerns, cast a discerning eye on which offers are also waiving the appraisal contingency, because you might be right back to square one when you take the highest offer with the appraisal provisions built in. All right. Now that's it. When you're submitting your offer, you don't submit anything else. For those of you that can see me, I'm holding up the escalation addendum. This box here in the middle, the buyer is not filling that out. That's presented with your offer. That is for the seller to fill out should the escalation clause trigger and they ultimately are accepting a higher offer. That is for the seller to detail what the competing offer is. All right. Jacinta, if you want to go along to the next page, we'll talk about calculating a couple of multiple offer scenarios. So you've got offer A and offer B. A is 250 with 5 back. Offer B is 255 with 12 back. Right. So at first blush, obviously offer A looks like the better one, right? We're looking at nets to the seller, right? 245 for offer A, 243 for offer B. Offer A has $1,000 escalators, B has 5,000, and then you can see where they max out. So as a threshold matter, I first want to look at, from a practical perspective, where we would expect the seller to ultimately end up here. Offer A is maxing at 260 with 5 back. That's a net to the seller of 255. Offer B is maxing at 267 with 12 back. That's also a net of 255. And so I think logic would tell us that with these two offers competing, our seller ought to be getting $255,000, right, as a net, because we've got two different offers, both willing to offer up to that amount. Now, here is the hazard with escalation addenda. First, we calculate the net, which we've already done. That's our center column in bold. 245 for A, 243 for B. Jacinta, if you want to go to the next one. Okay, so offer A, we just figured out, has the higher net, which means that offer B is the lower one. And so offer B is the first one that has the escalation addendum that gets triggered. And offer B said that we'll go $5,000 off over the highest offer, right? Over the net. So we're going to go $5,000 over the net of offer A, which was 245, which means that offer B is now at a net of 250. That 250, we had 12 back. That's a sales price of 262,000. Everybody following? All right, so now offer A triggers. They're offering $1,000 over the highest offer. Right now, that highest offer is offer B with a net to the seller of $250,000. I'm going 1,000 over that. That gets me at 251. 251 with the 5 back means a sales price of 256. So that is now where we are. Now we go to offer B. Offer B is going to go 5,000 over that. 5,000 over 256 and a net of 261. 261. I'm sorry, with the new net of 256, excuse me. With the 12 back, that's 268. Offer B was only willing to go to $267,000, so we don't get there. That $5,000 escalator cannot trigger on offer B. And so what we're left with is offer A is the highest bid, a sales price of 256 with 5 back. And so what did the seller net when we calculated those? 251,000. When we started, we logically thought the seller would end up at $255,000. They ended up with a net of 251. Now I know we all went into real estate, so we wouldn't have to do math. And I did the same thing. So I hope I didn't lose you on that, but you can certainly walk through that calculation. And this is the calculation that you're going to apply anytime you have multiple offers. And that was confusing enough just with two very similar offers. Now think if you've got 3, 4, 5, 6 offers. This is one of the reasons I don't like escalators. It can be very difficult to calculate, and you can put 10 realtors in a room with 5 competing offers and you're going to get a very different sales price. And so as a result, one of the most important considerations here is having the parties go back at the time of ratification and initial off on page 1, memorializing that there is commonality among the sales price that we have agreed to. We don't want somebody coming back later making the argument that you can't substantiate your calculation and that you don't have a meeting of the minds, that your contract breaks down because there was never agreed upon sales price. While it is not mandated, always go back and initial the first page of the contract to be sure there's commonality. Jacinta, you want to kick to the next page? So just some important takeaways here. I talked about the top two. We're talking about net sales price, and you can only increase by the full increment of the escalator. You can't pick and choose. All right. I think 3 is probably the most important point with escalation addendum. One of the great benefits that we have in the typical offer and acceptance or buyer-seller dynamic is that no one knows the other's breaking points. Seller would probably go lower, buyer would probably go higher, and we end up meeting in the middle. With an escalation clause, I as a buyer have said what my maximum breaking point is going to be. And I like to parallel this to a car buying scenario, that I walk into a used car lot and I say, wow, I really like this car. I'll give you $25,000, but if you don't agree to that, I will go up in $1,000 increments all the way to $32,000. Where do you think the used car dealer is going to get you walking out the door? And of course, the answer is $32,000 because I've said that's what I'm willing to pay for it. And so it's a real important consideration on both the listing and the selling side to be wary of showing the buyer's cards, in that it's going to dramatically skew the balance in the negotiation process. The seller knows where the buyer is willing to go. And so as a listing agent, I often recommend if you've got multiple offers, take those 2 offers I just gave you. Both of them were willing to go to a net to the seller of $255,000. Why, as a listing agent, would I not go back verbally to each of the buyer's agents and say, hey, look, we've got multiple offers. I want to accept your offer. It looks the best on paper. We'll counter at $254,000 or $255,000 net to my seller. Do you all agree? And if they say no, go to offer B, right? Because the chances of both of you declining, particularly in this market when each of these buyers has probably written on a half dozen properties already, is pretty low. And so don't leave that money on the table. Your obligation is to promote your seller's best interest, and that's achieved typically by achieving them the maximum net on their sale. Number 4 relates to motivated buyers. Oftentimes a buyer says, well, I'm right at 100,000, or 500,000 or whatever your sales price. But I guess if I'd go 500, I'd go 510. And if I'd go 510, I'd go 515. And the next thing you know, you've got a buyer escalating to $540,000, which is $40,000 more than they were ever comfortable paying. There is a slippery slope here when we're working with our buyers, and as their desperation level rises, as they see those rates potentially going up, as they see the house that they dreamed of being sold to someone else. And next thing you know, they're under contract and they're lamenting the whole process because they feel like they've overpaid. Make sure you have a heart-to-heart conversation with your clients, that they are accepting the risk of going in on this escalation, that if they're waiving the appraisal, that they understand that they're going to have to bring additional cash to the table, and that it may not ultimately be in their best financial interest should they ultimately max out on that escalation. A last point there deals with confidentiality. I certainly find this more often than not. Somebody shops an offer and actually shows the terms of an offer to someone else. And the agent's head pops off thinking that that is a violation of the buyer's confidentiality, of the selling agent's confidentiality. When I submit a sales contract offer to a third party, there is no requirement or even expectation of confidentiality. I'm not having them sign a non-disclosure agreement when I'm submitting an offer. And that listing agent is more than welcome to provide that offer to another party to show them that it was used for an escalation, to provide that offer to another party to show that they have a better offer. So when you have that concern, unfortunately, it's not a relevant one. There is no expectation or obligation of confidentiality when you have multiple offer scenarios. All right. I talked about number 6, seller can certainly accept the offer with the lower net, even if it loses in the escalation. You don't have to accept the one with the highest overall net if you've got a better offer that comes in a little less. Guys, any questions for me? Anything I can give you some more detail on? I don't want to monopolize the whole morning, but certainly, if you have multiple offers, if you want me to go through this process of coming up with the calculation so we can be sure we're in parallel, I'm certainly happy to do that on your behalf. Certainly to echo Mark's comments, the last couple of months have been historic. They've certainly been challenging for us all. These are good problems to have, but at the same point, my crew has been working 6 days a week, 12, 15 hours a day. It's been a long fall, and it's been, a successful one. But if you ever need anything, please do not hesitate. Just simply pick up the phone and call me directly. I think everybody's got my cell phone number. If not, I think it was at the bottom of this handout, but you can certainly find my card all over the office. And we just look forward to continuing to build the relationship, and wish you all continued success in the holidays.
Any questions for Ryan before we let him go? He has to get on a call soon.
Ryan, it's Diane. Thank you.
Hi, Diane. My pleasure.
Possible for you to have one of your crew members email this out to all of us? Each time you do it, it's excellent. And this one is definitely a keeper. I'd like to keep it for reference.
Indeed, we shall do so. Mark, is it easy if I send that to Carol?
Either way, we have the slides we can send to everybody, but yeah, send it to Carol and we'll send it out.
Fabulous. Will do.
Thanks, Ryan.
Thanks, Ryan. Any other questions for Ryan before he goes?
Thanks, Jen.
Hey, Ryan, thank you so much. Sorry about the delay.
My pleasure, Mark.
Okay.
Not a problem at all. It's the price of progress.
Take care. Next, what do we got next there, Jacinta? Oh, we're Fred. Hey, Fred, go fast though.
Okay, I will go fast. Next slide, everybody. Stock market's still going up. The market's up 350 today, the stock market. The biggest news last week was new home sales. Mark kind of touched it. I mean, that's the bright spot in the economy. It's just through the roof, new home sales. jobs report still slow to recover. Next slide. Rates still at historic lows. We're at 2.625, 2.75 for a 30-year, 2.25 for a 15-year. Just still unreal. Next slide. Again, rates are at their lowest. We're still doing a lot of refinances. The biggest news actually last week was, next slide, the change in the conforming loan limits. We went from 510 to 548 for conforming, and for high balance, which is still under Fannie Mae and Freddie Mac, we went from 765 to 822. And that is a big deal because with the high cost 822, you can now go over $1 million sales price, $1,025,000 with 20% down, and still be a Fannie Mae, Freddie Mac backed loan with 822 loan amount. Before you were jumbo money. I mean, over $1 million purchase, it was jumbo, true jumbo, which is stricter ratios, debt to income ratios, higher reserve requirements. Now with the limits going to 822, I mean, like I said, you can do $1,025,000 with 20% down, and you can go to 50% debt to income ratio. You don't have the reserve requirements required with true jumbo money. So it's a lot of flexibility. It's really great for us in this area in real estate. Next slide.
Hey, Fred,
Yep.
is that just for, does that not include VA, just FHA and
That is Fannie Freddie. So that's conforming loans, Fannie Freddie. FHA and VA are going to follow by the end of the year. The limits will be the same. So FHA and VA will be at those limits. VA really has no limit anyway. So, I mean, you can do 100% finance, so they don't really have a county limit anymore. But FHA will follow by the end of the year with case numbers, with their new limits. Next slide. Yep. So still with the surveys, 99% of the people recommend us. How can we help you? We're there. Rich and I are on those phone calls every Thursday with you guys, calling the refinances. We're saying, like, whatever agent's name, whoever did the purchase, we're saying, oh, we give you guys the credit. Oh, we're touching base. Diane Hicks said to give you a call. You know, you might be interested in refinancing. How you doing? Things like that. So it's good. We keep your name in there when we call the clients. Next slide. You guys all know about referrals, the sphere of influence. Next slide. Obviously, the main sphere components are family, friends, parents, previous customers, vendors, coworkers, professionals. Next slide. The trivia question for the week. So based on the old limit and the new conforming limit, how much additional house loan amount can someone purchase with the new conforming loan limits? A, 10,000, B, 20, C, 30, or D, 40,000? Any guesses? It is D, almost 40,000 more. So yes, which is a big, big increase. Next slide. I want to thank everybody for the opportunities and the business that we're getting right now. It's just unbelievable still. Any questions for me at all?
All right, I think that's, yeah, that $40,000 is a gigantic number, how much it changes the amount you can do conforming. That's really big.
Yeah, it's the biggest increase I've seen in 17 years.
Yeah, unbelievable. All right, no questions for Rich and Fred? All right, what's the next slide, Jacinta? Is there, so nobody sent anything as far as I know, but if anybody needs, is the slide after this okay, so this is about database management. I would encourage you to look at that. We can go out of the slides and see if anybody has anything to ask about buyers, sellers, needs, things like that. So nobody sent anything, but anybody got anything to talk about? What they need, what they got coming, any of that stuff? No, nobody has anything? That's it. Hey, Jacinta, you in that basket with all the names? Where's Jacinta?
I do.
Yeah, bring that in here so I can draw. We'll do the drawing if nobody has anything. We'll try to work out these bugs for the Thursday morning. So Thursday, 9:30 will be that training. Again, basic stuff at first. You guys decide what's worth coming to, what's not. Newer agents, of course, would be beneficial. And we'll just pick different topics and keep going through all year round with that on Thursdays. That's your basket? Hold on a second. 1 second. All right, just working out. Okay, so now we're gonna do the drawing. So we're drawing for the, what do I have? 5 gift cards I'm gonna do, right? 2 $100 and 3 50s. So I guess we'll do 100 first. Oh, yeah, you pick. Jacinta's picking, so
I'm excited. All right, here we go. Well, Dell.
oh, the one person, Dell Epps, who's not on this call, he just texted me while he's not on the call. A lot of people don't know Dell. He has his dual career. When we closed the Fairfax office, a couple of the agents came here. He's one of the agents that are here, and he's doing a great job. So Dell doesn't know, but he won the $100. All right, so next we'll do a $50. That's another person on it. Maybe we should have made that he had to be on the call. I don't, is Susan on? Susan, I didn't see Susan Smith. Is she on?
Yeah, you gotta be on the call, man. What the hell?
Not fair. This might be people people might be on a listing appointment and then they get punished for being on a listing appointment.
Yeah.
So Susan Smith gets a $50. We'll do another $50. We'll save the 100 for last. Oh, Jen Burwissel was, oh, there she is. Hey, Jen. So I have yours, $50 for Jennifer. We'll do another 50 and then we'll save the 100 for last. So another 50.
Mary Clark.
Mary Clark?
Yeah.
Oh, Mary. I think she did. She sold a listing this month. A lot of you don't know who Mary Clark is either, but she's dual career, and she did have a listing that she sold this month. So that's Mary Clark, $50. So the last one is the last $100 one, and we'll draw that one. There you go, Ripley. So that's them.
Hey!
There you go. Yeah. So congrats to all of you, and thank you so much. I mean, yesterday was really a nail biter, and so many you just, I don't know, you pulled it together. Just makes me wonder if I can playing like that every day. Could I get 9 contracts a day? But great job. We'll send out the link for Thursday's training. We'll work on these links to figure out what the mess with the link was. Although ultimately 47 people got on the call, so I guess most people figured it out. And thank you all for everything you do. I'll wait till next Tuesday to talk about Christmas, the holiday decorations, maybe bringing some wine, cheese, some platters in here as we decorate. For those that feel comfortable doing it, I just don't know what else to do. We tried to do that winery. That got canceled when the governor changed their rules. So we'll have to save our big get-togethers for hopefully sometime next year when things start to normal up. Although most people think that's going to probably not be till the 2nd or 3rd quarter of next year. All right. Thanks for everything, everybody. Talk to you soon.